Well, thanks very much, Glenn, for speaking with Blue Notes today. You've talked about the Melbourne University model that you created. So, when do you tell people your strategy and when do you not? And then, where does strategy fit in there?
So strategy is a fascinating question, Andrew. Thank you for that. One of the really interesting developments in the last decade or so in universities is endless predictions that universities are about to be wiped out by new technology in the same way that video stores and newspapers have been. And yet they've endured, and partly they've endured because Silicon Valley has done such a great job of selling its own innovations that they're all available for the rest of the world to pick up. So online education, micro-credentials, degree stacking, a whole range of things, of innovations that have some come out of Silicon Valley, some been adopted by them, have also been adopted around the world. And this is why the question as an organisation of how much you can share your strategy is always difficult. You can speak with a frankness and a level of detail inside an organisation that you might not choose to speak to the market. You can never deceive the market or not be completely truthful and ethical. But you do have to have thought this through, and in particular, you have to have thought through the next steps. If this is successful, what follows? Where does the strategy take us? And that's something, for market competition reasons, you might not want to share.
And one element of the work, and actually we should mention that your new role is in fact as the head of the Paul Ramsay Foundation. Yeah. One of the other things that we touched upon was that when you talk to your graduates who have come out of the Melbourne University model, and they say, the skills I can bring, they're not sort of recognised, I'm frustrated. Then you talk to the employers who are hiring them, and they say, well, these young graduates can't write an essay or they can't do this. There's this sort of generational gap there. Is it inevitable, or can we do something?
I suspect in some sense it's inevitable, and I suspect it's always been with us. But it is true that the digital natives who are graduating from universities now have grown up with a sense of the possibilities of IT that isn't necessarily shared by the generation that's currently managing them. And so we do often get sort of perplexed conversations between managers and their employees, where their employees can see opportunities to use what they've learned at universities because their managers hadn't experienced that and don't understand it, therefore don't see it as valuable, and will sometimes say the trouble is these universities graduates aren't job ready. They are, they're just not potentially job ready for the jobs as understood a generation earlier. This is a perpetual problem for all organisations. How do you keep fresh and alive? How do you use the skills of the new people who join you? How do you make sure that you're constantly seeing what the potential is? And a good organisation does this well and profits from it. And a poor organisation complains about the tools.
So you actually touch on then, with that generational gap, another gap which is particularly prevalent in Australia, which is that between academia and the corporate world. And in fact, you say there's a genuine mistrust or disrespect between the two, and yet we see in the US that the two work together incredibly well. I mean, this must be damaging for
So it's a very interesting Australian dynamic about why do universities and business have such mutual disdain? Why don't they work together well? My answer, inadequate though it is that this is an entirely cultural matter. There are good reasons to work together. There are profitable examples where people do, and yet we don't do it as a matter of course. There's something profound in our culture. So the question is, what do we do about it? If it's there and it's cultural, then it can be addressed. It can be changed. There is no structural reason why we shouldn't get on well and we shouldn't do lots of work together. So what can we do about it?
Well, hopefully we can do something about it. But thanks very much, Glenn, for speaking to us now.
Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks.
See ya.